Welcome everybody to our webinar today. I'm Suze, Commercial Manager here at WhisperClaims, and I'm very happy to be hosting today's webinar, How to Prepare Robust R&D Tax Claims Using WhisperClaims, alongside our co-founder, Ops Director and Subject Expert, Jen Badger. Hiya, Jen.
Hi, thanks, Suze.
As anybody operating in the R&D tax space will know all too well, there has been a huge amount of change in the last 18 months or so to the structure of the scheme, which has culminated in the launch of the new merge scheme in April this year. However, with the transition period and several schemes to navigate for some time going forward, it's fair to say that it remains challenging to stay on top of the new legislation. And the day-to-day experiences for accountants delivering services to customers has possibly felt overwhelming and a bit daunting at times, but it doesn't have to, and that's what we're here for. For those of you who don't know much about us, WhisperClaims, we are more than just an R&D tax software company. Through a combination of innovative and intuitive software and expert advice line support, we empower UK accountants to navigate HMRC's R&D tax scheme with clarity and confidence, boosting efficiency and optimizing processes. We know that whether you're implementing a new in-house R&D tax service or already have an established offering, finding clarity and support amidst the complexity can be quite hard, and finding efficiency is key, particularly when it comes to things like the additional information form. So our goal for the session today is to demonstrate how WhisperClaims can help you in your firm. Jen's going to kick us off by providing a brief intro into us, why we do what we do, and the impact that we've had on the R&D tax market to date. She'll discuss some of the significant changes and the challenges that they present to both advisors and claimants. We'll then demo the app, have a chat about our comprehensive support suite, and then our pricing, leaving plenty of time for a Q&A at the end. We would love to hear any questions that you have, so please do feel free to post any questions in the Q&A box. I will be sharing several links to ebooks, guides and resources in the chat box. So if you can remember to, please do your best to try and post any questions in the Q&A box, which you'll find somewhere around the middle of your ribbon at the bottom of your Zoom screen. If you end up putting a question in the chat box, don't worry, we will see it. We don't want it to get lost in some of the other noise. I'll be back for the demo shortly. Over to you, Jen.
Thanks, Suze. So as Suze says, we are more than just our award-winning software. We have an advice line, we have learning tools, and the whole purpose of our business is to empower advisors to deliver R&D services under their own brand. So we don't do any consultancy, we don't do claims ourselves. All we want to do is help you. And we'll talk a wee bit more about what those learning tools and things are later on. So in terms of who we work with at the moment, we've got loads of customers across the UK. And really, when they come to us, they're in one of two places, as you said. They're either preparing claims already, or they're looking to offer R&D tax advice as a brand new service. So the advantages of using WhisperClaims for people that are already preparing claims, it takes away some of the report writing, so no more going from scratch. But a key thing for a lot of our customers is having that clarity on eligibility legislation via the advice line, but also through the app. And as Suze will demonstrate for you when she gets to the demo, it's a very reactive question set. So depending on what dates you put in and what answers you give, it will change and make sure that you're only answering the questions you should be doing and only including things you should be including. So we can give you advice on it, but we're guiding you through the app as well. And that structured process helps you deliver compliant, consistent and efficient claims every single time. For those that don't currently offer R&D tax relief services, it allows you to launch a new service without needing to bring in any new staff in the short term. And it gives you that structured process, helps you engage your clients with kind of deeper, more value-added conversations, whilst knowing that you're asking all of the right questions every single time. And you can lean on our advanced advice line for support as much as you need in the first few months, just to make sure that you are learning about the scheme, learning about how to prepare claims, and we're going to help you prepare the best claims you can possibly do. So jumping from that into what is happening in R&D at the moment. So this is the key thing, or the key reason I think that people are using our software at the moment, is because we can keep people in the right legislation and the right schemes. Because at the moment, depending on who you talk to, there's about 8 schemes you could be claiming under at the moment. So it's a wee bit confusing to know which one you're going for. So the changes that we've seen already that are definitely having impacts now The first one that hit everybody was the change in rates that came in for expenditure after the 1st of April 2023. So that reduced the SME rate from 130% to 86% and increased the RDIC rate from 13% to 20%. And when this was done, everyone said, well, this must be some kind of precursor to the merge scheme. And it was. So it brought the amounts of relief you could get through the two schemes much closer together, which has then led to the merge scheme coming out this year. The SME tax credit rate was also reduced from 14.5% to 10%. So really seeing a huge reduction in the amount that some SMEs can get. And then as a very last minute addition, the R&D intensive rate was introduced as a way to kind of compensate very technical cutting edge companies that were making huge, big losses to still get more of a benefit. So we're seeing that now. The main issue people are having at the moment is for claims that actually straddle that period. So have expenditure pre-April 23 and post-April 23 is causing quite a lot of issues. For claim periods starting on or after the 1st of April, there's some small changes in terms of the things that can be included in claims. So you can now claim for pure mathematics research, which is really good for the 4 companies in the UK that do pure mathematics research. But more importantly, you can include data license and cloud computing services, the cost of those as part of the claim, which is really good. It's just bringing the scheme up to date a bit, because up till that point, you can only claim for software that's downloaded and installed rather than used through the cloud. So it was a very outdated piece of the part of the scheme. And the other key one, which is really starting to hit now, is the requirement for pre-notification. So this is having to tell HMRC if a company is planning to claim R&D tax relief if they've never claimed before or haven't claimed recently. The big one, obviously, that came in last year was the additional information form. So this was required for all claims submitted after the 8th of August 2023. So we've had a year and a bit of this coming in now. And for the first time, this is HMRC mandating a certain amount of information to support a claim. So there's a minimum number of project descriptions need to be included, detailed cost breakdowns formatted in a way that's sometimes feels a bit unnatural for the way you prepare a claim. And the key thing with this, it has to be submitted before the CT 600. So we are still, for advisors that don't do claims very often, we're still seeing people forgetting to do this occasionally. So still hammering home, this needs to be submitted for all claims and it has to be before the CT 600. We have, however, gone from 50% of claims last August being rejected because they didn't have an AIF to almost all of them being accompanied by it now. And we do have an ebook that can help with this. I'm currently updating this for the new merge scheme stuff, which we'll talk about in a minute. But at the moment, that tells you everything you need to know for claims starting before the 1st of April 24 and how to fill out the AIF. And I think Suze will pop a wee link if you want to have a look at that. So that's the 2023 changes. 2024 changes, obviously, we haven't really seen the impact of these yet because they all apply to claim periods starting on or after 1st April 24. So these will really start hitting claimants and advisors spring next year. But essentially, HMRC and the government have merged the RDEC and the SME schemes into one merged RDEC scheme. This gives an expenditure credit of 20%, very much like the current RDEC scheme, but it does use the current SME POE NIC cap rules. So it's a bit more generous in that way. But essentially, the overall tax benefit will now be 15% for profitable companies and 16.2% for loss-making companies, regardless of their size, how they do the work, all of that kind of thing. The R&D intensive scheme is being replaced by the enhanced R&D intensive scheme. The enhanced R&D intensive support scheme, or ERIS. They're essentially the same. There's a couple of key differences, but essentially the same thing. So loss-making SMEs that are doing a lot of R&D can still claim under the old SME, some of the old SME rules, and get a bigger benefit. The major changes to claims under the merge scheme are that subcontractor costs are included for all claimants, including large companies. So we are going to see a shift of benefit from small companies that were claiming under RDIC because they were working as a subcontractor for large companies. All of those claims are now, or all those costs will now be claimable by those large companies themselves. So we will see a shift of benefit and costs going from small companies to large companies. The overseas subcontract and EPW costs will no longer be allowed. There's masses of exemptions to this rule, but in essence, if a subcontractor is working overseas or an EPW is not paid through UK POE and IC, then those costs won't be allowed. And the other key one is that grants and subsidies no longer affect claims. So you don't need to worry about whether your client's been paid for the work, whether they've had grants, all that kind of thing. So it is, to some intents and purposes, a simplification of the schemes. However, the new additional information form then has actually become quite a lot more complex than the old one. Because of the rules around overseas subcontractors and EPWs, the HMRC is now asking for a lot more information about subcontractors and EPWs. So you need to know where they're registered, PAYE references for EPWs. We need to know company registration number for UK companies. That's going to be more likely to do with making sure that you don't have two companies claiming for the same work. They need to know whether the work was carried out in the UK or overseas, and if the company is claiming for any overseas work, why the company feels that that is exempt from those restrictions. The AIF also slightly unexpectedly treats ERIS and the merged scheme RDEC as two separate schemes in terms of how it wants the information expressed, and how it wants the costs expressed, especially. So companies are going to have to think about which of those two schemes they want to claim their expenditure through, whether they're going to do it through one or both, assuming they qualify for ERIS. So it's going to be a bit of complication there. And then the additional information form also covers the Northern Irish ERIS rules, which are a bit different. I've not got time to go into them here, but there's a different set of rules around that intensive R&D for companies that are registered in Northern Ireland. So there's a lot to kind of get into in all of that. Alongside all of this, HMRC have also published their guidelines for compliance 3 or GFC3. And this is really covering what HMRC expects from claimants in a bigger sense. So amongst all these changes, they're also laying out exactly what they want to see advisors and companies doing when they make their claims. So it's broken into 4 sections. The first one is expectations of claimants. And this has the key part of this is the 13-stage process they expect you to go through to assess claims. It sounds quite heavy-handed, but actually for anyone that's done claims before, it won't be that different to anything you've done in the past. This section covers all the main criteria for eligibility and really starts to emphasize that competent professionals must be involved in project assessments. This has been a theme throughout a lot of the inquiries that we've seen over the last couple of years. HMRC really want to see a competent professional in the area of science and technology involved in the claim, to the point where there is a section about the importance of a competent professional. So this, for the first time, gives proper guidance about who's considered a competent professional, which is really good and very, very helpful. And it can just having this in your back pocket means you can get to the right person in the claimant company to talk to. And it also includes instructions on how to set out the competent professional's opinion. So the information that HMRC are looking for from the competent professional to understand their opinion. There's a section on identifying qualifying expenditure. There's nothing new in this. It summarizes everything from the guidelines, but it does have some helpful examples. So I would recommend having a look at that. And then the 4th section, again, is something they've never really stated before, and that's the recommended approach to claims and record keeping. So this is really good to have, and it just gives details of how to record, the best way to record projects from an R&D claim. It's quite a utopian vision of how companies might record their R&D, but it gives you a good kind of guideline as to what HMRC are really expecting. And if you know that your client doesn't have any of the records that HMRC would expect, it might be time to pause and think about whether to claim for that project. The other massive change we've seen in R&D is the increase in inquiry rates. So from 2022 to 2024, that went from 1% to 20%. Now, that 20% figure was published in about March. So I think it's holding firm at about 20%. It doesn't appear to have reduced massively since in the last 6 months or so. So we're still seeing that. What I will say is it feels like there's been a bit of a shift in terms of the types of companies HMRC is going for. It feels less random. It feels like they're going for particular sectors, particular types of claims, and also particular providers in the marketplace. So much as the inquiry rate is still 20%, it's probably for I would say providers doing a good job producing competent claims, compliant claims. It will be a wee bit less than that. So on the back of all that, we do have another ebook about identifying eligible clients, just to help you make sure that you are only putting in claims for eligible clients and also not missing any eligible clients within your portfolio. So All of those changes obviously have had a massive impact on the R&D tax relief sector. The rate squeeze has massively reduced the benefit, as you'd expect. So that means that anyone charging contingent fees, even fixed fees, those fees have been reduced because the benefits that the claims are seeing is far lower. Obviously, therefore, margins are tighter and smaller claims are no longer attractive to support. So we are seeing, I heard anecdotally the other day of one smaller provider is now introducing a minimum 10K fee for their claims. Purely, it seems to get rid of their smaller fee paying clients. We're also seeing changes as a reaction to all this in fee structures. So contingent fees have been dying off for quite a while. Most are around 15% now, probably including query defense. But we're really seeing that reducing a lot. And the ban on nominations and assignments, which means that advisors can no longer have the tax benefit paid to them, take their fee, and then pay it to their client, again, is kind of undermining that traditional contingent structure. So all of that together means what we're seeing is service providers exiting the market. So the pressure on margins is a factor, the large volume of inquiries is definitely an issue, and the reputational effects of those inquiries worries people, and the schemes got very complex. Some of them are pulling out completely. We're seeing a lot more sort of pulling out partially. So as I say, maybe introducing a minimum fee so they move out of the small end of the market, or they're only doing particular sectors, that kind of thing. But obviously, in any changing market like this, there is a massive market opportunity. So those clients that maybe were working with some of these third parties that have introduced minimum fees or have just sacked off all of their smaller clients are out there looking proactively for support. They know it's a bit of a difficult thing at the moment. They know it's complex. They know that there's risks involved. And what they want is their trusted advisor to work with them to do this. So we're actually seeing a lot of advisors enhancing their service portfolio by including R&D services, expanding the R&D service they already had, and taking on some of these claims that the big players no longer want to do, or wanting to do more claims in-house to protect their clients from the bad behaviour that we've seen in the sector. We're seeing a lot more feeing based on hourly rate or fixed fees, purely because that's a much less risky way to do it for both sides. And we're seeing it more on kind of input than outcome. So saying, we'll produce all your claim for you, we'll do all the preparation, we'll submit that for you, and that's what you're paying us for, not on the basis of you're going to get this massive payout at some point down the road. And so obviously, as we say, there is a big opportunity here, and we think one of the really good ways to take advantage of this is to use WhisperClaims. It introduces robust processes to your practice and your company. It means that you're always applying the changing rules correctly. You're not claiming, for example, data costs when you should be claiming data costs, all that kind of thing. It's going to help you build confidence in your offering, both in-house and with your clients. Suze will show you how that works, but there are ways that you can screen your clients without paying us. So you can actually weed out those clients that wouldn't be able to claim for one reason or another before you pay anything or get their hopes up. An absolute key thing is it ensures you have all the data you need for the AIF. So you're never going to get to the last day that a claim could be submitted and find that you don't have everything you need to be able to fill out the AIF. And we have features that allow you to collaborate with your clients. So again, with HMRC being very, very keen to see competent professionals directly involved in the claim, this allows you to kind of involve them in that structured process. So having said all that, I'm now going to pass over to Suze for the demo.
Thanks, Jen. Hi again, everyone. I'm just going to do a little switcheroo of my screen here. Hopefully, can you see that, Jen, all right?
Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you so much. Okay, so yeah, let's dive straight in. So this is the app. This is the first screen that you'll come into when you enter the app, and it's really easy to log in. There's just a button on our website for customer app logins. This is your homepage dashboard that you can see in front of you here. I'll just do a really quick tour of the homepage dash. So you've got homepage, you've got your client dash here. Oops, sorry. Oh, and the app's logged me out. I had that sitting on my screen for too long before we came on, so sorry about that. Let me just log in again. I can show you how we can log in now as well. There we go. There's the app login button on the website. She'll log me in. There we go. Okay, so homepage dash, you've got your client dashboard, you've got your workflow dashboard as well, which is where all your claims are stored here. You've also got your account section. I just want to really quickly show you this section because we've got just a nice little additional customization tool here. So you've all the things that you would usually expect, like your subscription details, your users, invoicing. This is what I want to show you is our report styling tool. So this is just a quick snapshot of what your report looks like, but you have the ability to augment and customize the report if you want to here in the admin. So you can do things like bring in logos. You can change the color flex within the report if you want to reflect brand guidelines. You can also add things like footers, and you can also change the order of the report if you want to. Really, really importantly, Jen's already touched on this a couple of times. We are behind the scenes here to help you to offer support for any scheme or eligibility related queries that you may have via our advice line. So everywhere you are within the app, you're going to see this question mark icon, which you can see there, our phone number. You can email us from within the app, and down here in the bottom right hand corner, you can live chat us as well. So when you're logged in, those 3 channels all go through to the same place, which is headed up by Jen. So the advice line is there to help those who are maybe newer to the scheme to check understanding, and for those who are already experts, it's just a comfort to have somewhere to bounce off queries, seek opinions, and make sure that you're staying on the right side of HMRC amidst all of this change. So I'm just going to take us into my training claim now so I can show you around the app in a bit more detail. So we know that there are aspects of the claims preparation process that are tricky. So today I want to highlight just some of the valuable ways that WhisperClaims is helping our customers overcome some of these challenges that the sector is facing. So I'm going to cover things like how we identify pre-notifications required, how to collaborate, as Jen's already mentioned, within the app. I'll show examples of how the app flexes depending on what accounting period you're in, and I'll demonstrate how the app keeps you on top of things like the AIF rules, and how the app provides guardrails and feedback where HMRC's criteria has not been met. Just because a client has claimed before or they think that they have a claim, there are going to be occasions where there is no eligible activity taking place in a particular accounting period, and that's okay. So for you to have the ability to demonstrate clearly and objectively to your clients when they don't meet HMRC's criteria and why is really important and really valuable in itself. You know, it reinforces your trusted advisor role and hopefully means that your client is less likely to fall for a cold caller from a less reputable organisation. So what I'm really saying here is that there is a huge benefit in being able to say no, even if it doesn't feel like it, and WhisperClaims can help you demonstrate that really, really clearly to your clients. Okay, so this is the start of a claim. So first off, the journey is split into very clear sections. So if I just touch on these buttons here, you're going to see me expanding out all the different areas that you're going to cover as you go through the claims preparation process. And we ask you the questions in a very deliberate order. The first section that you go through is our basic qualification check, which is ensuring that your client's details initially meet HMRC's minimum criteria before you start to go too deep into the claim. So we're asking about things like company information, financial period, whether you need to pre-notify and so on. So this is an example of a pre-notification question here. This is a claim that starts 1st of April 2023. So the fact that we can see this question means that there is a potential that we may need to pre-notify. As Jen's already mentioned, the app flexes depending on the accounting period you're in. So if you are working on a claim that is pre-April 2023 and you don't see this question, you can essentially be assured that this is a step that you didn't need to go through. So have that peace of mind. And if you do see this question, and for whatever reason, the pre-notification window has been missed, we're going to end your session. So this is an example of an endpoint where the app is, as I've said, objectively advising you that this claim should not move forward because it doesn't meet HMRC's criteria. And again, this is just simply being able to show you very clearly to your client why. WhisperClaims is not just a box filling exercise. We're not simply asking you to dump data into fields and have the app spit out a report. Our clever decision engine in the background is constantly assessing risk and providing checks and balances to keep you on the right side of HMRC. And under no circumstances would we want a client of ours to spend time preparing a claim or paying for a download that's not viable. And as you've just seen in the pre-notification questionnaire, that's an example as to when we're going to screen you out. So you're going to be asked the same questions for each claim every single time. Nuanced circumstances are going to result in you being served additional questions and taken down paths to explore the relevant scenarios and go more deeply. And you can't skip over any questions, which means that your methodology stays rigorous. Routing of spend can be tricky to grasp as there's several variables that can impact how spend is routed. So for example, if your client appears to be, let's say, an SME, but on closer inspection, they're owned by a large company, that can change the circumstances quite significantly. And we ask you these types of questions early on, and feedback alerts you to any changes in status. And I've just stalled on this screen very quickly because I can show you a quick example as to how the app's going to alert you without having to go deep into some of the other questions. So if I amend the staff numbers on this screen here to breach the SME threshold, the app's going to identify and alert me at the bottom of the screen there that we're now looking at an RDEC claim. So that's just an example there for you. You know, things like this sort of new information can prompt further conversations between you and your client about how worthwhile a claim may be to make. So particularly if it's a small RDEC claim and the likely benefit is going to be minimal on this occasion, you may decide not to go forward, but having the ability to interact with the app just gives you some breathing space before you continue on with your journey and prepare for a claim and pay for a report if you decide later on that it wasn't so worthwhile. For claims with expenditure post-April 2023 and claims starting on or after the 1st of April 2024, the app is going to help you identify and establish whether your client meets the SME intensive or IRIS criteria, as Jen's already mentioned. And of course, we'll shortly be handling claims being made through the merge scheme. Any outcomes, sorry, my Zoom thing is in the way. Can I just get rid of that? There we go. Sorry. Any outcomes in those circumstances are going to be displayed. Now I've pulled up the wrong screen. Sorry about that. Are going to be displayed in the review section of your claim before you finalise and download. So you're going to get a snapshot which looks something like this here, and you're going to be able to see the status updates very clearly. Let me just go back to our claim. Okay, and then of course any claims, Jen's already touched on this as well, that straddle pre-April 2023 and post-April 2023, the app's going to handle the split between the two enhancement periods as well. So I just want to show you in the report that you get at the end, we give you a breakdown within the cost section here. Let me just quickly expand that out for you. So you can see that the app is going to split the spend over those two periods. Again, just making the whole process much easier, much slicker, and less stress from your side in terms of remembering all the different rules for all the different periods. Jen's mentioned collaborators as well already. So in line with what HMRC's GFC3 guidance encourages, you can collaborate directly with your clients within the app. And you do this by clicking on the collaborators tab in the top right of the screen here. So if I just open it up, you can see I've got some collaborators already on this claim. A claim can have an unlimited number of collaborators, and collaborator visibility is restricted to the claim that a collaborator is invited to. Further restrictions can be applied to protect sensitive information like salaries from those who are not, authorised to see that type of data, and you would do that just by simply toggling on and off the cost questions here. Collaborators don't see the qualification checks, and I'm going to flag at the end of the process the last bit of the journey that you go through that collaborators will see before you will continue on with the finalisation and downloading of the report that they are not party to. Okay, so project section next. So the project section focuses on getting underneath the generic challenges and work that your client's been undertaking over the financial period, identifying competent professionals, thinking about things like subcontracted work, all helping you and your client to understand where eligibility lies, prompting conversations and gathering data for the report. Any projects and opportunities in sectors that don't meet HMRC's criteria are going to be screened out in this part of the process. So again, you're going to get those red endpoints, red feedback, and explain to why you haven't met the criteria. We make sure that you're asking your customers about available evidence. Again, Jen's already touched on this, to substantiate the work that your client is claiming for, because should HMRC have any questions or queries downstream, you want to ensure that they can back up their projects. We're not asking you to produce any of this information upfront, by the way, and we're just making sure that you're having that conversation with your client. And there is a small paragraph within the report that states what evidence is available should there be any queries. Of course, we ask about grants, as these pre-April 2024 can affect how spend is routed, and you're taking down a process of adding in your client data, and in the background, the decision engine will determine how spend should be routed based on that data. The last bit of the project section ensures you have everything you need for the additional information form submission downstream. And again, as Jen's already stated, HMRC's AIF requires a minimum number of projects to be described, and at least 50% of the overall qualifying spend needs to be represented. So we're going to first ask you how many projects are being claimed for. We're then going to ask you for the project titles, and then we're going to take you into the cost section. We do this for two reasons. First of all, we want to help you to identify how much spend each project represents. And secondly, we want to help you minimize the amount of time you and your client needs to spend writing detailed project descriptions. Of course, you can write up all of the projects in huge amounts of detail if you want to, but let's say if one project only represents a tiny percentage of the overall spend, you could have saved time not doing that by making sure that you understand the distribution of spend across each of the projects in the first instance. The cost section is very straightforward, and we have functionality available to allow you to quickly and easily upload client data. So the first question that you're served in the cost section is staff. You can manually upload your data here if you want to, but as I've said already, you've got your CSV upload function, which helps you really easily import that data from your spreadsheets, saving time on manual inputting, and of course, meaning that everything is a bit more accurate. The next question you're going to be shown is staff time per project. And there's just, I want to just quickly point out in the software cost section, which is just here, because again, Jen's already touched on this. This is just an example of how the app is keeping you tight and compliant with the guidance. This is a post-April 2023 claim. So fields to input spend, if appropriate, for data licensing and cloud computing are available here. If this was a pre-April 2023 claim, these fields would not be visible, as these would not be eligible categories for that claim period. So again, it's just taking away some of the mental gymnastics and just helping you make sure that you're always on the right tracks, because you're not going to input costs that are not eligible for that particular period. The rest of the cost section is very straightforward. And again, you've got plenty of opportunities to upload your data directly from any of your spreadsheets. I'm just going to quickly flick through some of the screens here so you can get a feel for what the different categories look like. And then we're into the final bit of the process, the technical detail description. So now we've allocated all of the costs, the app presents us with this table, allowing us to easily assess how expenditure has been distributed across all of the projects. So we can now make an informed decision and decide which ones we want to describe in more detail for the report, and really importantly, for the additional information form output that we're also going to give you. Our risk checkers make sure that we select the minimum number of projects that the AIF will expect. So in my example, I need to describe a minimum of 3, even though one of my projects here represents more than 50% of the overall qualifying spend. If I try to remove one of these projects, you're going to see the app is going to stop me in my tracks and not let me move forward, because it knows that I don't have enough information for the AIF. So it's not going to let me continue until I reselect that. The final part of the process is our project descriptions. So these are my 3 projects here, projects A, B, and also project E here. These are the projects I've just selected from the previous screen. And this is a template that has been designed to make it easier for you and your client to articulate the specific project details to HMRC. So you've got your technical lead, who's your competent professional, and there's plenty of characters at this point for you to describe in more detail your competent professional's qualifications and experience. The field of science and technology is pulled through from a previous question that we will have answered earlier on in our journey. The start and end month is the period of time within the financial year that the technical problem solving took place. And then you have your 4 key areas. You've got your baseline, your advance, your uncertainties, and your resolutions. And as you can see, you've got rich text formatting here, and you can also include images in each of these categories. We've got one final fail-safe before you move forward into the review section, which is that when you first enter into this section, all of your tabs will be amber, indicating that there is information missing. And it's not until all of your tabs have been turned green that you can move into the finalisation and review stage. So again, just making sure that you have everything you need before you download your reports. So one thing just to mention before we move into review, this is the last page that a collaborator can see. Everything else I'm about to show you now, once we go through to the review, is not visible to a collaborator. In collaborator mode, this blue button that says review here will say submit. And all that means is that when a collaborator has completed any data inputting that they have been asked to do, or anything that they've been asked to review, that just will send an email to you to let you know that they finished, and you can then take the next steps to maybe organise a review meeting or to do the finalisation stage. Before we move forward, just a couple of just small things that I think do help you on your way. Everywhere, all the way through the app, you're going to see these question help sections at the top of your screen. And these are here to provide you with notes, short videos and links that take you directly to the guidance on HMRC's website, which just means that if you want to delve a bit deeper or do a bit of your own research, you can do that. Of course, you've got us here in the background on the advice line and through live chats. You also have the ability to flag questions. So if you want to flag certain parts of a claim to your client, just to make it easier to point them in the right direction when you're inviting them to collaborate, you can do that. And we also have a notes section on every page as well, which acts a bit like a Google Doc. It's time and date stamped, just giving you that opportunity to maybe leave notes to justify why a question's been asked in a certain way. Maybe you want to point to evidence that relates to the question that you're on. Anything that goes in this notes section is for internal use only though, so it will not pull through into the report. Okay, so we're ready to review our claim. If I just click on the review button, we're now going to go into our summary review page. You do have a small note at the top of the screen just letting you know that once you're in review, your collaborators can't access the claim. Now, we do this for very good reason. The last thing that you want to happen is you're ready to review, finalise and download the reports, and one of the collaborators has just decided to nip in the background and make some changes or some tweaks. We don't want that to happen. So anytime you're in review, collaborators can't access the app. If, of course, you need your collaborators to be able to go back in to make any changes, all you need to do is click Edit Claim. That will move the claim back into in progress and allow them to have access. You can just keep going around in that loop. The review screen has quite a lot going on, so I will take it in sections. So over on your left-hand side, you have your claim summary review, which is essentially an output of all of the numerical data that's been entered in over the claim, just giving you a chance to stop and take a breath and make sure that everything makes sense before you finalise and download. And of course, you can go back and edit any information from this screen. Maybe you've got some placeholder figures in, something like that. Over on your right-hand side, you have our in-app risk assessments. So this is an automated assessment that I've purposely made look horrible, just to give you a wider sort of view as to the types of things that the risk assessor is picking up. So this is an automated review giving you a rating based on a low, medium or high score. And it's evaluating various factors like the company sector, so SIC code, the claim size versus turnover, the presence of grants or shareholder structures. It's there to pick up and identify anything that could potentially pique HMRC's interest. It's not assessing eligibility, it's just giving you the opportunity to review anything that maybe might need double checking, like maybe the SIC code is out of date, just helping you make sure that the claim is robust and defensible. Should HMRC ask any questions, you've been able to dot your I's and cross your T's before you move forward. Below that, you're going to see our approximate qualifying spend table. So this, the actual value, sorry, of the qualifying spend is displayed in the report that we're going to see in just a moment. This table allows you to, once again, just make some decisions about how you want to potentially move forward, how the benefit will be realised, how you want to fee for this type of work, if it's perhaps a much bigger or a much smaller claim than you're expecting. And once you're happy to move forward, you get to experience the wow moments. This is now when we go to finalize the claim. The app is going to take away all of the legwork of having to write a report. The app is now just going to baseline the figures and write the narrative for us. That's it done. It's really, really quick. And before we move to download, which is here, you have the opportunity as a WhisperClaims customer to tap into one of our additional paid for services. So our WhisperClaims review service is an optional expert evaluation of your client's R&D tax claim. So unlike the automated review on the previous screen, it involves a thorough desk-based review by our R&D tax specialists, examining all of the publicly available information about the company, assessing project descriptions for eligibility, analysing costs and overall claim coherence. Some of our users opt for reviews on all claims, others on initial claims for confidence building, and some only rely on the service for, say, complex claims if they're particularly, let's say, high value or high risk. But it is optional, and you can tap into it as and when you feel you need to. So download now. So this is the bit where we take payment for the report, and that is when you're going to see your downloads, which are displayed here. You can access all of your data now from this screen that you need to submit the claim. Our AIF output is here, and I'm just going to download the report as well. So in the background, the app has been working hard to simultaneously create and generate your additional information form output now. So you have everything you need for your submission. Let me just bring up the report. Just give that a sec to come forward. There we go. Okay. So I'm just going to gently scroll through the report just to give you a feel for what it looks like. The report structure is designed to give you, your client, and HMRC comfort that all of the right questions have been asked. As you can see, it's laid out in very clear sections. All of this initial part is software generated based on the data and information that you have given the app. The project details is next. So this is the final bit of the process where we have the templates to describe our client's projects in more detail. So this is what it looks like when it pulls through into the app. I've got 3 of these, so I'll quickly spin over the other 2 because I want to take you into the cost section, which again has a proportion of content that has been software generated based on the information supplied as you work through your journey in the question sets. We also then provide you with an output of the qualifying eligible spend broken down by category and projects. And this is the figure that goes on the CT600 here. We've got some notes and assumptions based on how the figures have been treated in that above section for the inspector reviewing the claim. And we also provide you with full-on outputs of the cost categories where appropriate. So we've got a couple of appendices that you'll see pop up. Again, just giving HMRC as much information as possible in the hope that they don't have to come back and ask any further questions. Now, let me just reshare my screen so I can show you the AIF output, which is here. Just need to make that a little bit bigger. So this is the additional information form outputs. Remembering that the AIF portal needs to be completed before a claim is submitted, you now have all of the answers for every question the AIF is going to ask laid out clearly in this handy text file, broken down into the relevant sections. So all you need to do is bring up your AIF portal, bring up this file, and it's a simple copy and paste into the portal, which means that the administrative burden that this extra sort of part of the process takes is now removed, as is the risk of errors, because you've got everything you need in one place. We've made sure to strip out all of the rich text to remove any chance of unwanted characters being introduced as you copy and paste into the online form. And we've recently introduced, just at the bottom of the this file here, tax benefit calculations and PAYE and NIC cap calculations as well. So you get a full breakdown of that data. You just quickly nip back to the app. just to remind you that, of course, we do expect customers to review reports before submitting the claim with your clients to make sure that everything is as it should be. And if there's maybe things like spelling errors, or you've identified just something that you want to update, once you've downloaded a claim, you have the opportunity to come back into your dashboard and unlock the claim to get access back into the question set to make any updates or amendments that you need. You would then just simply refinalize and re-download your claim. Your report and additional information form output will update, and the most up-to-date version of both files will be available for you to then download again through the workflow dashboard. And you can unlock, edit, and re-download a claim as many times as you need to. And you're only charged, obviously, for the first time that you do that. Just again, making sure that things like version control are not a hindrance or an issue. That's it from me for the moment. Back to you, Jen.
Brilliant, thanks, Suze.
Just stop sharing. Sorry, Jen. There you go.
All good. Cool. Okay. So yeah, I'm just going to briefly talk a bit about our actual pricing. So we've got two different pricing models. Key thing in both of these, though, is that you get the same level of support and the same access to the software. So you get access to our hands-on support, as it says. So there's the advice line, there's the automated risk review that Suze showed you in the review screen. We have a WhatsApp community group where you can ask your peers questions, and that's really useful for things like how long is it taking HMRC to process claims at the moment, or has anyone seen this kind of inquiry, all that kind of thing. And anyone can access the claim review service. That is a small additional fee. And again, all subscribers have access to our learning tools. So that's webinars. We've got a training course that's, again, a small additional fee. We have a YouTube channel with things like this webinar in that you can watch at any time. And we have an ebook series, as Susie's been sharing. So there's a huge wealth of material that you get over and above the access to the software and the ability to prepare and download claims. So our core pricing is a monthly subscription of £100 plus VAT, and that gets you completely free access to the software. That gets you 10 people within your firm access to it. And then we've got the report download fee is capped at £625. So we charge 2% of the eligible expenditure up to the cap of £625, purely because we don't want any claim to be left behind, because our download fee is a blocker. So we have had people paying a £30 download fee for a tiny claim, but I'm sure it made a benefit to their, it made a difference to their client getting that tax benefit. More recently, we have introduced our Smart Save pricing. So based on what you forecast you're going to put through in a year, we can offer you a fixed monthly price. A lot of people like this because it can kind of evens out with the year if they do quite a lot of claims, but a lot of them are in December. Clients, our users tend to like to spread that out through the year. So there's not one big bill to pay in 1 month. So that starts at £229 plus VAT per month for up to 5 claims per annum, and it goes up from there based on the number of claims. But that's a conversation we can have with you about the number of claims you have been doing, how many you think you could do, all that kind of thing. And even before you start paying us, we have our trial offer. So that gets you 30 days. So I'm going to, Susie's poll has popped right up in front of what I was trying to say.
Oh,
sorry. So you get 30-day subscription fee, and during that 30 days, you can download one report for free and have one claim review for free. You've got access to all of the advice line and everything like that from day one. So just that allows you to really test out the app without having to pay us a penny, so you can get your comfort that this is going to work for you and your firm. We'd see some people doing their first claim is a real claim. Quite often, actually, people will run through a claim they've done previously by themselves just to check that they're getting the same answers out of it, to make sure that everything works the way they want it to. However you want to use that opportunity is up to you. I am now going to jump forward, sorry, to the any questions that anyone has.
We do have some questions. That's great. Got a couple that I had free as well. So, okay, Jen, I'm a very small firm with only occasional claims. Is there a pricing option that would be per claim only?
We can have a chat with you about that. It's not something we tend to offer for a couple of reasons. Partly, if you're wanting to access the advice line and all that kind of thing, we need to be able to staff that advice line. So we need to have a little bit of income every month from that. But also we tend to find once people start using it, they're doing more claims than they thought. And actually, for what we have to charge on a per claim basis, it very quickly becomes less economical to do it that way than to just take on the subscription. So there's a few wee things, but it's a conversation we can have with you about what's best for you and your firm.
Yeah, just feel free to get in touch either with me directly, or you can use one of the contact forms on the website as well. You can have a chat. Okay, I've got a couple of questions here, Jen, and if anybody else has
Yep.
got any, feel free to jump into the Q&A and type them. So this is actually a very current question. We've been hearing a lot about this. So what are your thoughts on the use of AI when it comes to preparing R&D tax claims?
I think I would sum up our us as cautiously positive, but with massive reservations. Um, I think there's a lot coming through. I've had demos of some of the sort of AIs that have been developed in this area. Um, our hesitation comes from, and I don't like to use the phrase, but it's the best one. It's the worry that we could polish a turd using AI. So an ineligible claim could be made to look really, really good using these tools. So we have a huge worry about that. We have a worry about data security and how that data is used by these sort of large language models, and sort of we would hate to be using one client's data to teach the AI, which then might pop up interesting artifacts in someone else's claim, for example. So we're kind of cautiously waiting to see how this is applied and how the data security can be um, assured for our users, because you know that's a big concern for them. However, it does have a place, I think, as long as companies are doing, HMRC's 13-step process of assessing claims, that they fully understand the guidance, they can tell what an eligible claim is and what it isn't, they have good notes, they've asked all the right questions, then having a tool that writes that up in the way HMRC want it to be written up isn't necessarily a bad thing. We're interested as well in the reviewing what our users have written. So rather than writing it for them, being able to review it automatically and say, hey, what you've written is really good, but you haven't covered off the baseline, or you actually haven't articulated your advance clearly, or that kind of thing. So as I say, cautiously optimistic, and we are going to be looking at what we can put in to augment the Whisper offering over the next 6 months or so as we work through some of our issues with it.
Absolutely, it's here to stay, so we need to
Mm.
embrace. Okay, I've got another question here that again is very relevant based on something that Jen's already said. Does what I write in the pre-notification claim notification form have to line up exactly with what is submitted in the claim, obviously later down the road?
So the quick answer to that is we don't know yet. Really, claim notification forms have only just started going into HMRC, and the claims off the back of those pre-notification forms won't necessarily have been submitted yet. So there's very, very little feedback about how HMRC is taking information from both of those forms and looking at it together. It's a very basic form as a pre-notification form. It literally has one box that says, give a quick summary of the projects or the work that the company is intending to do. And because that pre-notification is available from the beginning of the claim period, so you could submit it the first day of your client's accounting period, there's potential that you could have submitted that and then the company's done something else completely in that year because of different factors, different pressures, whatever it is. So I would hope that HMRC won't use it to go, well, you said you were going to do this, why didn't you? What their stated aim for this is to just really do early intervention with claims that don't look like they'd be eligible anyway. They're trying to make sure that, for example, rogue operators aren't targeting sectors as we've seen them do, where they targeted care homes, for example. If they see a pre-notification coming in for a care home, they want to be contacting that care home directly and saying, have you had this explained to you that you're probably not eligible? So it's really just giving people the tools, both the advisors and the claimants, the tools they need to decide whether that claim is eligible and whether to make it or not. So that's what they aim to do with the information from the pre-notification form. What they do actually do will only come out over the next year or two, really, as we see claims that have been pre-notified actually being submitted and assessed, and what the inquiry rate is like for those.
Super. Thanks, Jen. I've got one more question. So if anybody's got any more, please do let us know. We're coming near to the end, so coming in on time. What is the current inquiry rate?
So as I said, it's about 20%. That's all we can say. And as I said, I had a chat with one of our clients the other day, and my gut feel, based on nothing but speaking to our clients, is that for your kind of average accountancy firm that's doing 5 to 10 claims a year, for example, I would say the chance of any one claim being inquired into is probably around 10% now. Whereas if you're a larger, slightly dodgier consultancy, for example, we're going to see them staying at that 20%, possibly even higher, as HMRC target, as I said, ineligible sectors and the dodgier players in the market as they try and kind of clean everything up. So it does feel now like people that are doing things the way HMRC want them done and are putting in compliant claims are less likely. So that 20% is a wee bit misleading in that I think some of that has shifted away from good providers into being a lot more targeted.
Thanks, Jen. I think that might be it for the questions today. That's super. So we've come in on time. Thank you to everyone who's joined us today. If anybody has any questions or would like to get in touch, as I said, please feel free to reach out. We will be sending a follow-up. It will probably hit you tomorrow, now your inbox tomorrow, just with a recording of today's session, and also links to all the resources that we've shared, just in case you didn't have a chance to download those. And as always, we're always doors always open. If anybody just wants a quick chat or would like to talk to us about embarking on a trial, please do get in touch. We'd love to hear from you, and we hope to see you at another one of our sessions in the future. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday, everyone, and we'll see you all soon. Take care.